What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bill Bronze and Dragons. I'm your host, Bill Bronze DaoLockStone. So today we're having another battle report for my Molebron DaoLockStone build that I have been playing in a Westmarch server called the Forged Concordance, with which I'm having a tremendously fun time, and I give it my highest recommendation. So the link for the Forged Concordance will be in the description below. Feel free to join me there and we could adventure together. In any case, today's adventure was run by DM Gordon, who ran my first session, so I knew I was going to be in for a good time, and he definitely, didn't disappoint. And the adventure was called The Yet Uncovered Ground. So Bill Braun was the one that got the job again, made it to the job board first, so I was trying to assemble a team. And I was quickly able to add Marek, a Vidalcan diviner, and Alberon, a drow elf fighter, whom I adventured with before in the Forest Foray, I think. And then we had a little bit of trouble getting a fourth person because everybody else was like too high rank. And so we had to beat the bushes. And finally, we managed to talk Ark into joining the team, even though he was much higher rank than us, like 5th or 6th level or something. So he decided to come with anyway. So the job was for a murder in Tears Fall, and they needed it solved. So we all headed to Tears Fall. This is the site of my first adventure, the Wetter Ground. And so I was actually familiar with the town. And when we arrived, we met with David. Oh, and I should mention, we got there super quick because Ark, being higher level, actually had like a couple of horses and a cart in the stables. So we all just piled in and we went down there, and David was like, "Oh my God, you guys got here so quickly." And he gave us the skinny. So someone had been killed in the market, and he just currently didn't have the manpower to, get it solved. He was a high-ranking town's guardsman, and Tears Fall is a big town. I mean, it's not just some little fishing village. It's like one of the bigger cities in the nearby area. So, there's like a huge town guard. And so this guy was like a lieutenant or whatever, and this was like within his bailiwick. And so he, hired out this particular task. So we were, supposed to investigate this, and he did give us a bunch of information about who he thought was probably responsible, because Tears Fall is a pretty, peaceful town with, hardworking citizens, but there are a bunch of cults. There are 6 cults. And so he was pretty sure it was like one of the cults, but, he didn't have time to investigate. So we investigated and went to the market and looked at the scene of the crime, and we made like the worst investigation rolls, especially for a team that had like a lot of wizards and stuff in it. And so we didn't find much. Like, first of all, I tried talking to some of the merchants that had witnessed it, and I rolled a 1 on my persuasion check. So it was like, "Fuck you," slam the door. So we didn't really learn much from that, but Marek did investigate the actual, scene of the crime and the blood spatters and all of that. And we determined that the body, which had disappeared. So first of all, someone saw the murder and then went and reported it. And then when they came back, the body had disappeared. So we examined the scene and we determined the body may have been thrown over the side, because this was like at the top. So Marek sent his owl down there to investigate. And it turns out like the body actually did find its way down there. Although we later found out that it wasn't thrown over the top. It was actually brought down with a cart or whatever. But we decided to all go down there to investigate that scene. And we found the body being kind of eaten by a giant, ugly insect, tentacle-looking monster thingy. And we decided to engage it from maximum range. Like, I was literally at 120 feet, and we were just going to light this thing up from distance, which of course totally makes sense. And this thing just ran away. So we, basically avoided a combat, and we examined the body, and we learned that the body was killed with a slashing weapon. And so I was like going over the cults, and like that eliminated 3 cults, because one used whips and one used spiked maces and one used hammers and short swords. And those are all crushing, piercing weapons. So not slashing. So it narrowed it down to 3 different cults, but we didn't have much more intel besides that. So this is where my background came in clutch. So I'm not the sort of person that just starts rattling off my life story to people that I just met, but in my previous life, I was an urban bounty hunter. Remember that Bill Braun is a city kid. He grew up in Vascala, which is the giant city in the middle of the map that you tend to see. And his mom was a warlock who adventured and made it rich. And so now she's high society. And I just grew up as her son in this city. And I can, rub pass through the high society, through gambling dens, through criminal underworld, through temples, through, all of that. And so I have an ability, ear to the ground, which means I have a contact in every single city. And so I'd been here before, and so I had a contact, Maya, who is a local tavern keeper. So we decided to go ask Maya if she could give us anything to go on. And she didn't have much, but we did describe the merchant that had slammed his door in my face. And I asked, do you know this guy? Is there any way that I can get on his good side? And she's like, yeah, I actually know that guy, and he loves this particular wine. And I was like, all right, let's hook me up. We paid 10 gold for the wine, and then we brought it back to the guy, and I presented it to him, and we were actually able to make friends, and he invited us in, and he told us what he saw. And he said that it was 2 murderers, and I'm looking at the cult thing. I'm like, oh, well, this one, operates only in groups of 4 or more, so they're out, and that left only like 2. And then he said, well, I saw the murderer jump out of that bush. So then Ark went to go look and investigate the bush, and he found a webbed footprint. And I'm looking, and one of the cults has tritons in it. Now, Bill Braun feels completely justified, because as soon as he looked at the group of 6 cults, he was like, that one has sea creatures in it. They're the bad guys. They did it. And people are like, how do you know? And I'm like, I just know because they're sea creatures. Gut instinct, baby, gut instinct. And they were like, well, we kind of need evidence and, stuff like that. And I'm fine, we'll do that. But I guarantee they're going to be the bad guys at the end of it. And of course I was right, because sea creatures are dastardly, and you'll never tell me otherwise. And so we presented our evidence to Davide, and he concurred, and he assigned an arrest warrant for the leader of the cult. And he recommended that we wait a little bit until sundown, because they're having their services right now, and we don't want to necessarily fight our way through a throng of cultists. And so we took that advice, and once the sun went down, we went to the temple and confronted the temple leader. And that was the only battle of the day. We had a little bit of a parlay at the beginning, but then we started combat. And I've been learning that I like to talk first, but a lot of winning these battles is understanding which way the wind is blowing. And once they've basically confessed, you end the dialogue by initiating the combat. You don't let them end the dialogue by initiating the combat. So we initiated the combat, and he was like far away and just immediately started rushing our position. And the whole time we were literally lighting him up. Like, the guy was so arrogant and confident because he has like a high AC, and our rolls were crushing it. So we were literally just lighting him up as he was coming our way. And at one point, Alberon was like, this is really seeming kind of easy. And immediately after he says that, the leader got close to us. He couldn't get all the way with his movement, but close enough that he launched a scorching ray at Alberon and hit all 3 beams and critical on one of them, and immediately took Alberon down to 0. Like, right after he said that. Hilarious. And then we continued to fight, and like, I had gone prone behind a pew because a couple of guys had appeared to back him up, like up on the balconies on either side, and were like shooting down ranged weapons. And so we managed to kill this guy with literally a 1 damage firebolt. It was like the most piddly little firebolt, just kind of like floating like a little match, and then boop, right in the head, and he goes down, which was awesome because he was like 2 squares away from my character, who was prone, and I'm sure he was about to unload like an action surge or something into my prone ass and send me to 0. But he didn't, and once he went down, the other 2 were pretty easy to clean up. And then we brought the body back to Davide and said, hey, they resisted arrest, so here's the body. And he said, hey, thanks, job well done. We completed our mission, and we went back victorious to get our gold and our badges. And I got a lot of gold this time, 205. So this was my first iron mission as a level 3 character. So the rewards, much better than at first level. So a really cool adventure. Apparently we solved the mystery like way faster than anybody else, and we did it with the fewest combats, because there was like a lot of other stuff that we could have checked out that would have led to more combat. And that to me is a win, because this isn't about killing things and getting XP, right? This is a milestone system. So it's about completing the adventure. And to me, any battle that you don't have is a battle won, because nobody on your team is going to die in a battle that you don't have. So if through this murder mystery thing, we're able to avoid battles, I am all for that. So in any case, I really had a great time. So thanks again to DM Gordon and all of my fellow players. And I look forward to telling you about the next battle report. Regardless, thank you so much for watching. This has been Bill Browns and Dragons. I'm your host, Bill Brown DaoLockStone. See you next time!